Ugh, Paris. Paris. Just saying it, it's like you can almost picture it right strolling along the sand, those buttery croissants, maybe a little accordion music in the background.
And the Eiffel Tower.
Of course, the Eiffel Tower, and what's more Parisian than, say, a romantic dinner,
Yeah.
right? At the Eiffel Tower, Madame Brasserie. But is it all it's cracked up to be?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is the question, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. So you want the inside scoop on Madame Brasserie, the good, the bad, the how much for a bottle of water. We've got you covered.
We've combed through traveler reviews, checked out the official restaurant info, even peeked at some booking details on Get Your Guide.
Yeah, we did our homework on this one.
We did, to try to give you a clear picture of what to really expect.
Okay, so first things first. What are people saying? What's the overall vibe?
Well, it's interesting. The reviews seem really polarized. I mean, for every person raving about the magical atmosphere, you've got someone else saying it was overpriced and underwhelming.
It's like that with a lot of iconic tourist spots, isn't it?
It really is. But let's break it down a bit. Let's start with the view, because you don't get much more iconic than dining in the Eiffel Tower.
Right, you'd think the view would be a guaranteed win, right?
You'd think so, but surprisingly, some reviewers were actually disappointed with their view. They were expecting those panoramic views of Paris, but some folks ended up with more of an inside view, looking at the structure of the tower itself.
Oh yeah, I saw some of those reviews. One person even called it the Eiffel Tower's surprisingly beige underbelly.
Ouch. So here's the takeaway. If you're set on that classic Parisian panorama, booking a window table is key.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't leave it up to chance, especially if you're picturing that Instagram-worthy shot.
Exactly. Although, to be fair, some people might find the intricate steelwork inside the tower just as fascinating. It really depends what you're looking for.
Okay, but let's be real. A great view only gets you so far if the food is a flop.
Right, you got to talk about the food.
So what's the verdict? Michelin star magic or highway robbery?
Well, it's a mixed bag, to be honest. Again, very polarized.
Oh.
Yeah, we saw everything from delicious and excellent quality to nothing special for the price.
Okay, so how do you know what to order? Give us the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, I did see one review where this person was practically speechless about the beef bourguignon.
Okay, so we've got a winner.
Maybe. Apparently, it was fantastic crispy crust, tender meat, silky mashed potatoes. They raved about it.
Okay, that does sound pretty good.
It does, right. But then you have other reviewers saying the food was overpriced and just okay, especially compared to other fine dining experiences in Paris.
So hit or miss, depending on what you order.
It seems that way, right. And it's interesting when you actually break down the reviews by dish.
What do you mean?
Well, the more negative reviews tend to be for the simpler dishes, like salads or pasta. But the positive ones, those were all about classic French dishes, the beef bourguignon, duck confit, that sort of thing.
So stick to the classics. Don't go to the Eiffel Tower for a Caesar salad.
Right, exactly. It seems like if you're going to splurge, go for the authentic French experience.
Okay, so we've got the view, maybe, and the food, maybe. What about the atmosphere, the vibe? Is it all romantic candlelight and hushed whispers, or is it more of a party scene?
Well, that's where the whole concept of a brasserie comes in, right? It's meant to be lively, bustling, a place for both locals and tourists together.
Right, not stuffy fine dining. Got it.
Exactly. And the reviews definitely reflect that. We saw everything from magical and romantic, think proposals and anniversary dinners.
Aw, that's sweet.
It is, right? But then on the other hand, some people said it was chaotic and loud. One reviewer even mentioned a downright rude hostess.
Ooh, talk about a mood killer.
Right. So it seems like the atmosphere can vary wildly depending on the night, the crowd, even just your own personality and what you're looking for.
Okay, so let's say, the view, the food, you're intrigued, you're thinking, all right, maybe Madame Brasserie IS worth a shot. What do you need to know? Like, what are the logistics of actually making this dinner happen?
Logistics are key, especially in a city like Paris. You don't want to be that person wandering around the Champs-Élysées with a baguette under your arm, desperately searching for a Wi-Fi signal to make a last-minute reservation.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Not recommended. So reservations are a must.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about dining in the Eiffel Tower space is limited, demand is high. Every single review we saw stressed the importance of booking in advance, especially for dinner.
And probably a good idea to have a backup plan, just in case.
Always a good idea.
Okay, so you've got your reservation, you're ready for your Parisian night out. What's the dress code like? Asking for a friend who may or may not have packed their entire wardrobe just in case.
Well, I'll say this. You can probably leave the ball gown at home.
Darn.
The website mentions proper attire for dinner, which basically means no sneakers, sportswear, or flip-flops.
So like Parisian chic, but not over-the-top formal.
Exactly. Think stylish but comfortable. You want to look good, but you also don't want to be that person trying to navigate the stairs in 6-inch heels.
Noted. Now, let's say you're planning a big family trip to Paris, maybe a reunion, something like that. Can you roll up to Madame Brasserie with a group of like 15 people?
For larger groups, they actually recommend reaching out to the restaurant directly. Apparently, they've got special menus and seating arrangements for groups over 10 people.
Makes sense. Streamlines things in the kitchen and all that.
Exactly. They don't want to be caught off guard by a sudden influx of hungry tourists.
Speaking of tourists, let's talk kids. Is Madame Brasserie a family-friendly kind of place?
You know, they do offer children's menus, which is a good sign.
Okay.
But realistically, with no high chairs or stroller space mentioned, it's probably not ideal for, like, toddlers or babies. Older kids who can handle a fancy dinner, though, might really enjoy the experience.
Yeah, I can imagine trying to wrangle a 2-year-old while also appreciating the panoramic views might be a bit much.
A recipe for disaster, maybe?
Exactly, so maybe hire a babysitter for that one.
Definitely worth considering. Now, in terms of accessibility, for anyone with mobility concerns, I did see that they have elevators to reach the restaurant.
Oh, that's good to know. And I'm assuming standard security measures no outside food or drinks allowed.
Right, you're in the Eiffel Tower after all, so leave the picnic basket at home.
Probably for the best. Although a baguette and cheese with those views, that would be pretty tempting.
Tempting, but not worth the risk.
Okay, so we've covered the logistics, the dress code, the family friendliness or lack thereof. Now, the question on everyone's mind, the cost. How much damage are we talking about here?
Get your guide. Our go-to for booking info lists lunch prices ranging from $78.59 to $144.56 per person.
So not exactly your average Tuesday night takeout.
Definitely not. And keep in mind, those prices are just a starting point. The final bill really depends on what you order. Are you going all out with a 4-course tasting menu or keeping it simple with a main course and a glass of wine?
And I'm guessing that iconic Eiffel Tower view doesn't come cheap either, right?
You know it. That primetime window table will likely come with a premium price tag.
And then you've got the whole timing thing too, right? Like maybe an early bird dinner is a little easier on the wallet than, say, a primetime Eiffel Tower sparkling at night kind of situation.
You're thinking like a true strategist. It really is about prioritizing, you know? What's most important to you is it snagging that sunset view, even if it means a pricier menu.
Tough choices.
Or maybe like indulging in a specific dish. That legendary beef bourguignon we were talking about is higher on your list.
Okay, so after all of this, after diving into the reviews, the photos, the menus, where do we even land? Is Madame Brasserie, is it worth it?
The million-dollar question, right?
It is. So what's the answer?
Honestly, there's no easy answer. It's like with any of these, iconic landmark-turned restaurants, expectations are always sky high.
For sure, you go in with these like picture-perfect images in your head.
Exactly. And sometimes the reality, well, it doesn't always live up to the hype.
So are you saying skip it?
Not necessarily. I mean, it really seems like Madame Brasserie offers something truly special, but it's not, a guaranteed home run for everyone.
Okay, so what you're saying is,
You might have an amazing time, a night you'll never forget. Or you might walk away feeling like you overpaid for, just an okay meal with a side of tourist trap vibes.
right, it's all about managing those expectations.
Exactly. Knowing what you're getting into.
So for anyone listening who's like got that trip to Paris booked, maybe they're adding Madame Brasserie to their itinerary as we speak.
Or maybe taking it off.
Maybe taking it off. What's the one thing, the one question they should ask themselves to decide?
Ooh, I like that. Okay, here's the question. If you were planning a dinner at Madame Brasserie, what would be your non-negotiable? What would make it worth it for you personally?
Oh, I like that. So is it the view? Are you all about snagging that coveted window table, that perfect Parisian panorama?
Right. Or maybe for you, it's about indulging in that one dish, that, truly exceptional culinary experience. Maybe it zest the beef bourguignon.
Or maybe it's more about just soaking up the atmosphere, that like bustling brasserie vibe, the clinking glasses, the energy of being surrounded by, people from all over the world.
The feeling of being like right in the heart of it all.
Yes. Paris at your fingertips.
Exactly. So yeah, it all comes down to personal preference. The view, the food, the experience, what matters most to you.
Love it. There you have it. We've served up a heaping plate of Madame Brasserie. The good, the bad, the you decide.
Bon appetit.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you, a little food for thought, helped you decide if it deserves a spot on your Parisian itinerary.
And hey, even if you decide to skip the dinner, a stroll past the Eiffel Tower at night is always a good idea.
Always magical. Now, if you decide to brave the crowds and the croque monsieur, let us know. Tag us in your photos, hopefully with a glass of champagne in hand. And, as always, you'll find links to Madame Brasserie's website and those Get Your Guide booking pages in our show notes. Until next time, bon appetit.